All right. Well, I love to ask this question first and foremost. It's kind of a big one, but when and how did you first fall in love with storytelling, or rather have that aha moment where you're like, oh my gosh, this powerful tool can create empathy, it can educate, it can reach people, it can bring people together?
I guess, I mean, when I was young, 4 or 5 years old, I guess it just started from my sister and I, putting on little plays for the rest of the family. And whether it was a retelling of Cinderella or something that we'd written. Yeah, it was just a way to get everyone in the same room. We used to line up all the chairs, get all of the chairs from the house, line them all up, make like a proper little theatre, and all eyes would be on us, and it would be 7 minutes where we'd all be in the same room. It would be quiet, and we'd be able to say whatever we wanted to say. And it was often nonsense, of course, but I think probably that, and also films. Watching films from a young age, and I think I was quite a sensitive kid in the sense that I would sometimes watch a movie, and if it upset me, it would stay with me for a really long time. It would
Yeah.
take days to shake it off. Like I remember watching Watership Down for the first time with my sister again, and I mean, she is still horrified by that, but like she can't even talk about it because it was so upsetting. And like the horse from the Neverending Story,
Oh,
sinking in the swamp of sadness. It
mhm.
took me a while to get over that. I'm still like that too. I watch a movie now, and if it's something that moves me or shakes me, it can take me a really long time to sort of shake it off.
Yeah. No, I can totally relate to that. That still happened, but that's so interesting because now that I'm thinking about this, when I was a kid, I was the same way. Like it would sit with me for a long time. And I think that's why I've always been such a vivid dreamer too, because it's like, you know, but
Got an
now
overactive imagination.
a
Do you
hundred
also get that
percent.
thing where you wake up and you've had a vivid dream, and that takes a while to shake off as well? Like it was a dream, but it can color your whole day. It can ruin like your whole day, the day of those around you. Like it totally messes with you. Yeah,
Oh,
I
no,
relate
it's
to
so
that too.
true. But I think that same vivid imagination is what makes you such a brilliant storyteller. And I think that that's sort of what I now as an adult, even though it is still really like takes a toll on you emotionally, it's what I love about filmmaking and storytelling. I love when it sits with me. I love when I continue to find things and when the story continues to grow in my head and I can have these
Yeah.
conversations. And that to me is a perfect segue into Loki season 2 because that's what it did for me. I find myself continuing to have these really in-depth conversations about all of the beautiful themes that were explored in the season. So thank you for that gift
Oh,
because it's
that's
the gift that
cool.
keeps on giving.
Oh, that's good. No, that's cool. That's great. I think there's nothing worse than coming out of the cinema or watching something and thinking, meh,
Meh.
meh,
Or
meh.
you just don't.
Where's the stuff where are the like the lols or the tears or something? So that's
Exactly.
good that it made you think something.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, no, it continues. Like I love having conversations. Well, first of all, it's one of the only shows that my husband and I like watch together, which is like
Oh,
very rare to find like a show that you both love and you're so passionate about and you both have to like press play at the same time. So then you can
yes.
discuss.
You
But
know what ours is? It's not as cool. Ours is Bake Off.
that's really
It's
sweet
like the
though.
only thing we watch together religiously. And it's so English though, isn't it? Well, British. It's so British, Bake
We
Off.
love it over
That
here.
we're
We're
like,
like
is it
obsessed.
really? Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
we
Okay. Get
love
it.
it.
Get it.
We're like, oh my gosh. I could like go on about Bake Off because I just saw a headline that really upset me. It was like Bake Off needs a villain, and I was like, no, it doesn't.
No, 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 no. The best thing about Bake Off is there's no villain. Everyone's super nice to each other,
I love
very
it.
collaborative and supportive. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. There's no
100%.
place for a villain. in
I
paper.
was
Noel
like
Fielding is as
appalled.
close to a villain as we need.
No, I
Yeah,
was like, no, thank you. I
I'm
don't like
glad we
this. We don't
agree.
need trauma. Like enough. But anyways,
No.
okay, let's dig into it. Okay. Um, to me, a big season. I'm sorry, a big. It's a little early for me. I'm sorry. I have my coffee, my little brain.
Oh yeah, of course.
A big theme of this season to me was love. And you have characters who have been kind of boxed in by their villain labels who haven't been really shown love or are kind of learning for the first time what it means to be loved, what it means to love. Now that Sylvie, she's completed her mission, her revenge mission, she's chosen to live out her life alone on an alternative timeline. In your opinion, was her choice an act of self-love or reluctance to let love in?
Self-love.
Mm.
I think at this point she is ready to do a bit of that.
Mm.
Yeah, I think she's been running for so long, fighting for so long, trying to kill this guy for so long. She's finally done it. She thinks she's sort of saved the world. um, she's, given herself and other people free will, and I think she's ready to just try and live and make some connections and make some friends and try and let some love in. I think it's difficult for her, but I
Yeah.
think that's the new mission at the beginning of series 2.
That's beautiful. And to me, like where she kind of you know, um, chooses to go feels very quintessentially like human. You have this person who has all this power and she's decided to kind of live a more, I hate to use this word simple because, you know, it's not that it's simple, but it feels very human. She has this 9 to 5 job. She visits the local record store. She goes to her bar, gets her whiskey. Do you think that there's a little bit of her that's kind of, is she finding contentment in the comfort of the simplicity because it's a really good place to start to heal from all the trauma that she's endured and having kind of that stillness? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. I think she's she's trying to be normal, or what she thinks she's meant to do to be normal. Getting the 9 to 5 job, like you say, visiting the record store, making, a couple of friends, even if it's the guy behind the bar, the guy behind the record store counter. And yeah, I think it's a slower pace, more simple than where she's just come from for sure. And like you say, it's a safe space to start to heal, to start to just slow down and sample what it's like to live like the majority of other happy seeming people. So she's sort of doing what she thinks she's meant to be doing.
Yeah.
And she's just trying to fit in. She's taken a stab at trying to be happy.
Yeah. And I think too, there's a lot of it of like her for the first time in her life making choices that are solely her own. And, you have this woman who was, grew up in these war zones and these apocalypses and has been on this mission from as long as she can remember. And now it's like, what now? And now I think she's finally figuring out, and that's going to take time of like, what do I want? What do I need? What does life look like for me without this chaos? And yeah, it was a really beautiful, beautiful arc to explore. But then, Loki comes a calling.
And ruins everything. Yeah.
With this big news of, that the TVA is pruning these timelines, essentially killing millions and millions of people. And Sylvie's reaction is kind of like, I've done my bit. Um, and
I think when Loki first arrived, she doesn't quite realize the extremity of what's happening. She doesn't quite understand how crucial it is that she helps. I think she's all she hears is the TVA needs your help, and Loki, who they didn't part on the best terms. So she's just like, no, I don't want to hear it. You know, I'm staying here. This is my new life. Leave me alone. Stop trying to mess it up, without really hearing him out. Yeah. And then Brad comes along and she sees what's happening, and then she knows that actually she has to help,
he has to
because
help.
because it's a threat to everything, every timeline, every person, including herself and her new home and all of her new friends. So she realizes that, okay, shit, I have to go back there and help.
I mean, what's so brilliant about this show too is that these responses are so human. Even though you know you have these supernatural beings, this is such a human response. I think like, and please correct me if I'm wrong. There's a little bit probably of denial too, like to our point that we were just speaking on, that she's finally found kind of this safe space that she can start kind of exploring what she wants, exploring herself. And when you're in that, it's really hard to hear any news of any kind. And you know there must be, and it's sort of your heart breaks for her almost for a minute, because you can understand that on such a human level. That feeling of like, you know, I don't want to leave, like I'm feeling safe here. But ultimately she's got to do the right thing. Let's talk about two words. Let's get into the finale of it all, since we can spoil everything, which is so fun.
So fun. It's so nice to actually be able to talk about it.
Right? I have such a hard time when I do interviews, you know, mid-season or at the top of the season. And I've had the honor of like watching all episodes, but I have to be like,
Oh,
keep it together.
that's so hard for you. Yeah. Like I'd be messing up all the time. What about the bit where what about no, I can't
Exactly.
talk about
You don't want
anything.
to get in trouble. You want to keep your
Did you have
job.
fun? Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, well, let's go back to that like kind of universal theme of love in the season. At the end of in the finale, Loki sort of makes this ultimate sacrifice out of love for Sylvie, out of love for the team. Um, you know, how do you think that's changed her perspective seeing that sacrifice?
Oh, I think she was um I think she has a lot of respect for Loki for doing that by the end of series 2, and for giving her and everyone else a chance,
Mhm.
um, and knowing that he has to spend eternity now on his own in what I imagine is quite an uncomfortable position,
Yeah.
holding holding all of time together. Um,
So true.
so I think she has a massive amount of respect for him, and also is super grateful that he's done that and he's had the thought to do that. So she's sort of relieved that they have a chance at this by the end, and grateful. I think because it's Sylvie and Loki,
Mm.
there is also a grain of some thought within her that is going to keep an eye on the situation. because because at the end of the day, right, he has his throne and he is doing his god thing on this throne, and historically speaking that hasn't gone well. Like the
Mhm.
last person in that chair, the last person who was controlling all of time didn't, wasn't great. So I think Sylvie is just a little bit apprehensive about the fact that it's, free will can never be free will if there's someone in charge of it all. And that person, what if Loki sees something on the timeline that he does not like? He's going to find it really difficult not to meddle. or not to intercept something or change something somehow. So, and I think she knows him so well because they are versions of the same being, um, that it's going to be difficult just to sit back and do nothing if
Yeah.
something goes
Oh,
wrong, right?
yeah. Oh, I have chills. Oh, that's
so so yeah, massive respect, hugely grateful, and also I'm going to keep my eye on you, buddy. Maybe it's because it's Sylvie, and trusting is like the most difficult thing for her to do.
for sure. And we get that. And but also she cares about the guy so deeply. And I think too, there's gotta be this when we care about people so deeply and we love people, we always got to keep an eye out. Um
Right.
and yeah. Ooh, okay. Um well, speaking of, your brilliant creator and writer is set to write the next Avengers movie. So do you think there's would you like to see Sylvie, like be part of a team? Do you think that she's sort of ready for
Who knows? Who knows, Meg? I don't know. Maybe.
I know you don't know, but it's like, yeah, do you feel like now that she's had those moments of stillness on her own timeline, do you think that she's ready to kind of collaborate and kind of give herself to responsibility in a sense? Or do you think she's still got a lot of time to heal?
I think Sylvie is a fighter, and I think she's always got some unfinished business somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see her as part of a team, and I feel like she started this whole thing, so there is unfinished business for her. Um, she also loves the fight, and I think there's something in her that is drawn to chaos because
Hmm.
Loki.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I don't think she's going to be sitting around listening to records, working in McDonald's for long.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. She is drawn to the fight. I mean, that's why we love her. She's got that fire within her. Um, Let me ask you a question from an actor's perspective. When you step into the shoes of Sylvie, you're playing a character who is part of this ever growing, expansive universe, which is so unique, I think, for an actor. Do you prepare differently for a role like that, knowing that there may be big changes or shifts, or just because it's so expansive?
No,
Yeah.
not really. um, I think I prepare in the same way. I just look at what's happening right now, what has been, and start just from the character's point of view. I don't worry about all of the big universal stuff because I think it can actually get really confusing and get you in your head a little bit. So I just start from Sylvie and what's going on for her right now in this moment and the relationships and the other people. Maybe when I'm reading the scripts, I have to I have to understand what's happening
Mm,
with the overall stories. And I do that with every script.
yeah.
Make sure I understand what's happening.
Ups, of course, yeah. But I think that the writing is so brilliant in Loki, though, that I can imagine at the end of the day, again, it's so human, it's so grounded. So is an and
Yeah,
they're yeah.
so we start from that and start from the human aspect of it and the emotion and the acts and the conversations that are happening and the subtext and the um and I work mainly with my intuition. So, and the way and my instinct and the way I feel Sylvie would be in that moment and what she'd say and how she'd feel. So, and I do that with every character. So I guess it's no different in that sense.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I find it so interesting. I love to ask that question because, everyone's prep is different. Everyone's way into a character is different. And I can imagine sometimes it's like, from my perspective, seeing these big universes, I'm like, oh, is there like you know, get overwhelmed by like all of it. But again, like to your point, it's just the scripts are so good in this series. And it just like the conversations, we had so many beautiful, nuanced dialogue between, you and Tom in the season, that it was just two people having these really kind of existential conversations in a way that felt akin to conversations I would have with loved ones or friends. Like it felt very
Yeah.
relatable. And it was lovely. It was lovely to watch.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. That's what we want.
Absolutely. Really quickly before I let you go, thank you so much again. This was lovely. Your next project coming up, the Radleys, right? This sounds really
Yeah.
fun. I know we don't know too much about it, but it's about a family of vampires. I'm already like hooked. Anything you'd like to share about the filming experience, how that set was?
It was fun. It was really hot because it was
Oh,
the height
really?
of summer, so we were all really warm. That's the strongest memory I have of the shoot. Damien Lewis, obviously, and Kelly MacDonald were both brilliant, and very lovely. So yeah, and Eros, the director, lovely man. So yeah, we just had a nice time in the summer in London. It was here, so it was just down the road.
I
It's quite
love that. I mean,
cushy, yeah.
oh, that would be a dream. I mean, it's wonderful to travel the world for work, but at the same time, to be able to just like,
Oh yeah, to be
dreamy.
able to, yeah, get home within half an hour is the dream.
Absolutely. Well, Sophia, this was so wonderful. Thank you again for your time and congratulations on everything. You're so brilliant, and I can't wait to see like the Radleys and what you do next and next. And I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, so this was such a joy. Thank you.
Thanks, Meg. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.